Good morning, loves. How are you? All right, so we are back. We're going to be finishing up our lesson with Harriet Tubman. The skills that we practiced today were actually reviewing our summarizing and take information from the graphic organizer. That is completed. Let's give you a glimpse of that. To the actual summarizing form. One thing that I love about homeschooling is that when Gregory is able to read his writing, he's able to catch different things. So, one thing we noticed with the Harriet Tubman writing, we said that the title is separate from the body of the paragraph. And that's one of the things that he actually had to understand. Because he put the name at the top of the paragraph, he figured that, well, her name is already there, so I don't need to include it again. One thing that he did include a lot of is she. Every sentence began with the word she. So there's a few notes that I was able to add to Gregory. Add punctuation and capitalization. What does she refer to? What problem does she solve? How did she solve it? And then, and what? What happens as a result of all of this? So now Gregory and I were looking at the two different summaries based on the first graphic organizer that he usually takes and he just makes his summary from, and the actual summary that he wrote. So right now, Gregory is going to read the summary from the graphic organizer and compare it to the summary that he wrote from the who, what, when, where, why graphic organizer. And we're going to see what difference it is and what did he actually learn. Are you ready, Greg?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, let's go. So we're going to read this first.
The characters are Harriet, her brothers, her mom, dad, and 300 other people. The settings were she escaped from Maryland to Pennsylvania. She was a conductor on the Underground Railroad, and they kept on going north, so they went to Canada.
All right, so he just told you about the characters and the setting. Those two lines should be to introduce your paragraph. So when we're going to look at the paragraph, we want to see, did he actually use that information and put it in his paragraph? All right, so now we're going to go to the plot events, and he's going to read what's in the plot events. This should be the meat of your summary. Let's go, Greg.
White people had slaves, but Harriet ran off to Pennsylvania. When she got there, she said, "My brother is going to get sold." Harriet saved her brother. She said, "Let me be a conductor." Harriet went on 19 missions. She saved 300 people. At the age of 92, Harriet died. She said I could have saved more people.
And that's where you're going to look at all of the details that's happening in the story. And so you want to make sure that your student or your child is transferring the information from the plot events to the body of the paragraph. They're starting with the characters and the setting to start off the introduction, but then they're getting into the meat and potatoes by using the details from it. And so then they want to make a correlation between what's actually going on in it and then how they can solve the problem. So let's see what actually happened, Greg. What was the problem?
The problem was the problem is whites had slaves and they were holding black people against their will.
All right, and then how did Harriet solve the problem? How did she solve the problem? What did she do?
She said, you're not coming up in here with black people. I'm coming to save everybody in this town.
So how did she, first of all, know how to save them and what route to take? What did she do first?
She was a conductor in an Underground Railroad.
How did she become a conductor? What did she do for her own freedom?
She escaped to Pennsylvania.
She escaped from slavery into Pennsylvania. So using that information is going to give you a beautiful summary. And when students don't use that information, here's what it sounds like. So Greg, read the information you put on this summary. Ready?
Harriet Tubman. She was a brave person. She did not know where she was going. When she got to Pennsylvania, she said, "I have to go back," because her brother was going to get sold. She went on 19 missions. She wasn't happy when she saved her family. She the nicest person. She at 92 22, she said I could have saved more people.
All right. So if you notice, Greg left out that she was a conductor on the Underground Railroad, that slavery was a huge problem where she was, that she was being held against her will. So all of those details were left out of his summary on this time. So one thing that we also noticed was that Gregory did not use the beginning, middle, and an end. And so that's one of the skills that we're going to go back and set up and use so that he can understand how to summarize a paragraph and put it in sequential order. This is honestly one of the reasons that I'm actually enjoying working with my son, because the classes, my last year of teaching, I had 31 students in one class, 32 students in another class, and I think 30 in the other class. And there was no way that I was able to get to pay this much attention to one student. I did everything that I could to make sure that the students learned what they needed, but there was no way that I can give them this much time on task. So with this being said, Gregory being the only child in this setting, he and I are able to work more closely together. If there's any things that you guys would need some more tips or strategies on, please feel free to drop it in the comments, and I will definitely do my best to make sure I answer your comments and give you some tips and strategies for how you can help your child. Signing off, one proud mama.